All right, guys, we're so excited. This is the very first one, the live webinar training of Private Label, the easy way, proven private label 2.0. I'm going to real briefly introduce everybody that's here. This is my leadership team, Jenny and I's leadership team. I'm going to, in order of how they are in my screen, I got Mike Russo at the top. Mike is our PPC, Amazon sponsored ads expert. He knows PPI better than anybody I know, probably better than Brett.
Is Brett on?
Yeah. I don't think Brett's on here.
But I'm all those videos, secret videos though.
That's right. But he's brilliant, guys, and has been helping me out a lot with just PPC stuff, and he knows a lot more than that. But Mike is in Florida, and Mike, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks for taking time to be on here with us.
Thank you.
And next we got Abe Ortolani, the data miner. He is the guy that is the expert with Keyword Inspector, the Trends tool, Reverse ASIN, knows how to find crazy golden gaps. I've learned a lot from Abe, and so it's just, as I've learned a lot from Mike too, I learned a lot from all these guys. But Abe, you're awesome. Thanks for being in the group, helping out. All you guys, thanks for helping out. Dedicating your time to this group. It makes it so much better. Abe's up in New Hampshire, so I'm sure it's cold up there, right?
Yeah, it's actually not too bad today. It was in the 40s, so it could be worse. But thankful for that. But thank you for that awesome introduction.
Awesome.
Real excited to be here. So
it wasn't so awesome. I didn't have any notes, so I could have made it better had a little bit of notes.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
All right, good. And then Jenny is the co-founder of the Private Label Easy Way Mentoring Program. She's out in Oregon, and it's just brilliant. I love brainstorming with her. We come up with new ideas every single time we get on a call. But she's the one that helped us put this together, and I'm very grateful for her input. She's very creative and knows a lot about create space and private label rights and stuff like that to make creative bundles. So Jenny, thanks for being on here.
My pleasure.
And last but certainly not least, Christy Michelle, the 4 weeks and $100 workshop extraordinaire. She makes the private label, the easy way method look hard. Christy, thanks so much for being on, all your help in the group.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to be here. I don't know if that's true that it makes it look hard. It's really, really very easy. But you and I, Ryan, we like it. We like things done not the hard way.
Cool. Hey, could one of you guys also just check in the Facebook group? I saw a notification popped up that somebody checked in about, they commented on the post about this. So there may be potentially people having trouble getting on. So make sure they have the link to register. So, all right, cool. We're going to jump in, guys. We're so excited. This is going to be the best with having all these guys on here. It's going to make it so much more fun. So this is Proven Private Label 2.0 live training webinar series. And so these are the 6 modules that we're going to go over the next several weeks. This is not going to be necessarily 6 webinars. In fact, we know it's going to be more than 6, but these are the modules we're going to cover. Tonight, we're going to go over why private label and how to plan your journey. In module 2, we're going to get into how to choose your product. Module 3 is how to find and contact suppliers. In 4, we talk about placing your order, creating your product listing. 5, we're going to talk about launching your product and getting sales. And then in the final one, advanced private label strategy. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, we're going to get into the why of private label and how to plan for your journey. And let me just make sure here. Okay, make sure we're recording. Okay. All right, so guys, as you know, private label is hot, hot, hot. I don't know, Jenny, what are these? What are these things there? She's muted. Hot peppers. But private label is hot. What? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was muted. That was dumb. I was trying to find an image for hot, and I won't tell you what came up when I searched hot.
It's probably hot and dry.
I don't know.
Cool. Everybody knows private label is a hot topic.
Yeah.
But why is that? And it's basically the cream of the crop or creme of the crop, whatever you want to call it. We think it's the best of the best when it comes to inventory sourcing. And as you guys know, you're all here, so you probably agree. This is the inventory sourcing pyramid. You guys have probably all seen this before. If you read either the book Private Label the Easy Way or Beyond Arbitrage, where I wrote and introduced this. And this is kind of just a way to describe how most sellers get started online. A lot of people start at the bottom with selling items from around their home and move up to retail arbitrage and then private labels at the very top. The reason I include it in a mention of private label is that as you guys know, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage is getting a little bit harder, a little more competitive, more people doing it, and there's very little barrier to entry. So, and what I mean by that is anybody can get an Amazon account, walk into a Walmart and scan an item with their phone with the Amazon seller app and buy something and flip it on Amazon. It's a very low barrier to entry. With wholesale, a little bit higher barrier to entry, but you still have no control over it because it's somebody else's brand. Then there's exclusives, and then we have private label at the very top. Exclusive is basically having an arrangement with a company to be the exclusive seller on Amazon of that product. And then, of course, private label at the very top, you have full control. Now, you have as much control as Amazon gives you. You're playing in their sandbox, so you don't own it completely. But there are strategies, and we'll talk briefly tonight about you know how you can build a brand, and so you can do that off Amazon. So that's the pyramid, guys. Anything in there that I missed, Jenny? Or
no, looks good.
Looks good. Really good. Yeah.
All right, guys. I want you to feel free to jump in too. I don't want this to be the Ryan show. Nobody wants to watch that. So why private label? Number one, this is a really big one. Absolutely no competition on your listing. Jenny is on here. She's the holiday toy guide expert, the one that created that several years ago. And people know that toys are really competitive at Christmas time. And so, you know, guys, if you've done retail arbitrage, what's it like at Christmas time? You know, have you had listings with hundreds or, you know, Lego. Yeah. Think of Legos, for example.
300-400 people on the same listing, you know, and it's just you're just waiting for that for the item to get saturated, for the prices to drop, for the competition. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a never-ending, you know, attempt to completely restock your items constantly. So yeah,
right, absolutely. Replenishable. This is a really, really big one. How many of you guys have gone to a Walmart, for example, walked into the clearance aisle, you found something really, really good, and you bought all of them. Maybe there was 20 on the shelf, so you cleaned them out. You sent them into Amazon, and within just a couple of days, they sold all of them. You walk back into that same Walmart and can't find any more. You drive to all the Walmarts in your area and can find none. They're gone. You check online, and you can't find them. That is not an issue with private label. Guys, have you had that issue with clearance items or
man, I had so many. I did it Valentine's Day. I think I found the hottest popular thing that I could find, and I went through every store. I even drove up to New Hampshire. I went to all these different states, and then it was gone. I couldn't find it after that. I cleaned out all the stores, and I couldn't find it after that. So I wish I could keep selling it, but I can't find it now.
Yeah, I think I did RA for about 5 minutes. I was like, I'm not doing this. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I gotta go around all these stores. I mean, it was really time consuming. I just did not like OA a lot better because I could do it. Lower margins was more interesting for me, but RA, right. I mean, you have to love the shop to do RA.
Right. It's not your cup of tea.
Like that. Not everybody else.
Right.
I rather I just want to get a job to do RA.
Exactly. I totally understand, but I know there's people on here that love to do it, and guys,
you love it. You gotta be good at it, though.
You enjoy doing it. You don't have to stop doing it. Private label could just be a way to supplement what your current business is, and maybe and we'll talk about the different models as we go here along. But guys, private label is replenishable. Once you get something hot selling, you can just keep reordering it. It's so cool. Virtually unlimited opportunities. Abe, why don't you talk real quickly? How many, like when you're doing your data mining and you're finding opportunities, is it unlimited?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if you're, you know, doing your sourcing the right way, like you can come from the keyword end or the product driven way. But literally through every product you source on Amazon, you can find several other opportunities. And we love to blur the line between private label and bundling, especially through wholesale companies. You can rebrand your items. I mean, you can literally launch 2 private labels, bundle them together. There's your third product. Find several other products in the same space. And usually we find a gap, and we have 6 or 7 product targets we can all launch at the same time and test. I mean, so the flexibility is just unlimited. But you're the only one on your listing, so you're not competing with any other sellers on the same listing. You know, so you have that flexibility and that control, to push the sales in the direction you want them to go. So, yeah.
And I think too also,
I can't say enough about this, but I can go on.
Yeah, it's a creativity as well. I mean, the creativity you're allowed to, do with private label and even bundles. You can be creative as you want to, and really create a shopping experience that you have to do virtually that you can't do with a single item or shared listing.
Oh, and the same thing when I do that with a lot of the products that I do, where I'll take the exact same concept and I'll put a different message on it or a different meaning or spin it to a different audience. I can do the same kind of product, but spin it to 20 different audiences with different purposes. And yes, that's its own niche of opportunity. Niche.
Yeah.
Hey, I that one.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I just did maybe a month ago, was I bought an item and I noticed it was selling in 2 different categories. So I literally just changed the brand name and sold the same item in 2 different listings.
Wow. That's awesome.
Well, and you know what? The benefit of finding the golden gaps and using the keyword data at the beginning even opens up more opportunities. So you get a key phrase, and you can find multiple products based on that key phrase that meet that need. Whereas before you were just looking for one product at a time, right? So I mean, the floodgates just opened when you flip it around and you look at it that way. So
true. Next one, build your own brand. Jenny, you wanted to talk about that briefly.
Yeah. So, we'll go in deeper. We're going to do another webinar to dig in deeper, because I think that we've seen already as people have come into the mentoring program that people are there's pretty much two directions you want to go. You're either just here because you just want to have unique listings and you just want to punch them out and get as many unique listings out there as you can, which that's fine. Or maybe you want to actually create a full-on brand and move beyond Amazon, maybe have your own Shopify store, or move to other channels and based on building a brand. So there's really 2 directions that you can go. And what we want to do is dig in a little bit deeper. We're going to get Jason Miles in and do another webinar where we'll dig in deeper to help you guys understand what to think about to make the decision now that will set you up for success later. So you might not even think you want to build a brand now, but maybe after that webinar, you might reconsider and put some things into place so that later, if you go down that road, you won't be backpedaling at all. So we'll be doing that. I don't know when. We don't have a date set up, but probably in the next week or 2 with Jason Miles and digging deep into what needs to happen to build your own brand.
It's so cool. Once you guys have your own brand, you can do with it whatever you want. I mean, Amazon can just be the launching pad. You can take it to a brick and mortar, shop it around there. You can go to trade shows and be the vendor at a trade show. I mean, guys, it really is unlimited, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And what is private label? It's basically having your own brand. So if you guys have watched any of the webinars that I've done recently, probably you might be sick of it, but I talk about the Walmart example to explain private label. If you go to Walmart and you go to the vegetable aisle and you see the green beans and you see Green Giant brand, and then right next to it's Great Value brand, which is Walmart's brand. And you guys know that Walmart doesn't have their own green bean farms and their own factories that processes it and cans it and all that. They go to companies like Green Giant and they say, we want your green beans, the exact same ones in your exact same cans, but for the paper label, instead of putting Green Giant around it, put this Great Value brand label. And that's exactly what we're doing in this group. Guys, it's that easy. And you don't have to have crazy, huge minimum orders. And so that's private label the easy way. That's at its heart. Don't make it any harder than it really is. We have a webinar that Jenny and I did with these guys, and we're talking about the 10 ways that you make private label hard. That's in the additional training in the Facebook group. Watch that. If you get stuck, watch that webinar. It's very helpful.
We covered the top. Oh, sorry.
No. That's fine. No. I want you guys to jump in. We covered the top 10, right?
Yeah, it was like the top 10 things that we could think of that a lot of the questions that people ask that they say are the most difficult or where they get stuck. And it's really not on things that there's just easy workarounds or you're overthinking it. And I'm a person who overthinks things, and still it doesn't have to be that difficult. So don't let these small little obstacles stop you, because it really is a very easy, clear path that it has been laid out for you.
Absolutely. And use Christy's method's even easier. So
I was just going to say the name of the webinar again. It's how you're making, What was the name of it?
It's
I
like
thought it was 10 ways you're
10
making
ways you're making private label hard. Yeah, or something
Thank
like
you.
Yeah, the top 10 ways.
Yeah.
10 ways. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in the
It's
additional
under
training
additional training.
in the file section. Yep, that's right. So sourcing product, there's, the two ways, private label, the easy way versus the hard way. So when you start on the right, the hard way, a lot of people think of searching on Alibaba.com or a similar site like DHgate, and you're sourcing, typically those are factories in China. And guys, at the outset, let me just say here, there's absolutely nothing wrong with sourcing overseas. I have many friends that do it very well, and they're importing containers now. They didn't start there. And so don't think that we're bashing, sourcing overseas or any course that talks about that, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just when I got started doing private label, that wasn't even an option for me. I couldn't afford the minimum order. And there's a lot of different things about sourcing overseas that quite frankly scared me. And so I knew if I'm in that boat, there's other people in the same boat too. And so I stumbled upon the easy way method, wrote the book, and it's now a course. And so please don't think that we're bashing the harder way. It's harder. And so I prefer easy anyway.
I can attest to that too. I first started with importing from China, and it took me 6 months to make a decision.
Yeah.
I was like, I actually didn't make a decision. I am doing private label the easy way 6 months later because I wanted to test the products out.
Right.
So I realized, and then now once you have a product that sells, the inventory, what you're going to sell, then you can go ahead and source it and then bring it in a bigger way. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely the easy way. Makes it's inexpensive. It's financially it's not a big liability for you, so it's an easier decision. If you're spending $6,000 to $10,000, then you're not sure if it's going to sell or not. You want to make sure you have a product that's going to sell.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we've all been there before. Where we had paralysis from spending money overseas.
Right. Exactly. So it doesn't have to be hard, guys. The easy way could be as simple as using a company that has a private label program in place where they will remove the packaging and include your brand instead of theirs. Also, don't forget about the magic question. We talk about in the lessons. Basically, the magic question is, can I take it out of your packaging and put it in my own? If you use that and they understand that you want to do the work, that opens up crazy doors, especially with wholesale companies. We're going to talk about that in later webinars, but it's all in the lessons right there too. But guys, it can be as simple as that. Placing an order for a sample with the easy way, in most cases it's free. With the hard way, your sample may cost, sometimes they'll do it for free, but most times they'll cost, and you have to add the shipping, and that's absolutely not cheap if you're doing that from China. The minimum order quantity, this was the biggest one for me when I got started. On the right-hand side, the minimum was going to be 1,000 units for me for my very first product, and that's really low. I mean, a lot of times it's 3,000 or more as a minimum, and that just, guys, it wasn't an option. My product was $10 at times 1,000. That's 10 grand, and like Mike said, you don't even know if it's going to sell at that point before you get it in and test it with ads. And so, why do that when you can go the easy way and order just one case, or like use Christy's method with a promotional company? Sometimes you can order just a couple of those types of products and get started. Very, very fast, very easy, very low risk. Again, there is absolutely no reason to ever go deep until you have the data to prove it. Guys, anything on that?
Yeah, I want to say too is that, when you say a case, you may be thinking like, how much, like 24 is in a case. Sometimes case packs are only like 6 or 10 or 12. Right. So you can still just do test shipments from wholesalers with small quantities.
Yep.
Usually they're pretty cool with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, as far as when you're bringing overseas, it's also the relationship that you have with your sourcing agent and supplier. Because a lot of things can go wrong. You go to Alibaba, and who you're talking to, the actual agent or the actual manufacturer. There's so many things you have to do to make sure it works. So it takes a little time to develop that relationship with that sourcing agent or person over there to help you. So I think when you're ready for that move and your product selling, then you just take your time with it. In the meantime, you just keep selling what you have domestically, and you kind of ease into getting it done right and doing it properly. And then that's kind of the process that you do. So that's something you want to approach carefully and not just get into it. There's a lot of people now that were that have about 8,000 units in their garage that would love
Wow.
it. I get contacted by a lot, and that's a scenario where you didn't get the data, you didn't test it, and they took a chance, and it sounded good, and you get stuck with it. So you better going small, making smaller margins in the beginning. If making up, and then when you feel good about it, then you can go big.
Right. Absolutely. Guys, with shipping, this was another big deal to me when I was first getting started. Harder way sourcing and shipping from China, very expensive. Obviously, you have to deal with customs. I had no idea what was involved with that. The easy way, inexpensive domestic shipping, and no issues with customs whatsoever. So what you're doing here is if you're working with a wholesale company, for example, they're most likely importing it overseas. Maybe it's a manufacturer in the United States. But if it's a wholesale company, but they import it from overseas, then you're piggybacking on their process. Like they've already dealt with customs. They've already dealt with the shipping. That's already built into their cost. And so it's very inexpensive for you then for shipping, because all you're doing is just asking them maybe to ship it from their warehouse to Amazon or maybe to your warehouse. In my case, I live near Dallas, and the wholesale company I use for some of my products, they're 25 minutes away. And so I can email them in the morning, and then within a few hours, I have a guy with a pickup truck backing up in my driveway with product. And so it can be that easy and that inexpensive. And there's also companies that will ship it to Amazon for you, and you don't even have to do the processing. We can talk about that in a different webinar too. Obviously, the wait time is a big deal. Weeks to months, literally for private label the harder way, sourcing from China. Not unheard of for it to be 60 to 90 days for shipping time, or for time like once you place the order to you have it. 60 to 90 days, very easy. And for the easy way, mine, I replenish within a few hours, but most of the time, you'd be waiting days for product. Guys, anything here on?
Yeah, I have another story there too. So I had a killer product in the fourth quarter, and it crushed it. And by December 15th, I was out of it. And I was like, great.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And of course, it's an import, and I went over. I saved a little bit of money, obviously, importing it once I knew it was proven. But yeah, I'm still waiting on it. I think I need to get it. I'm still waiting for it to come through, make some modifications. But that's about, if I had it locally, or if I planned for it a little better inventory wise, I might have about $8,000 or $9,000 more in my pocket.
Oh man.
I think it's one of these things that you learn, and when you do import, make sure you maybe have a secondary plan domestically where you can maybe use that secondary source, if you get to that point. So yeah, the weeks to months is absolutely true. And sometimes they ship it without the suffocation labels, and that's a lot of fun too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You have to have a good freight forwarder
right.
deal with as well, because if they intercept it before it goes to Amazon, get stickers on it. So, there's a lot of things in play. So before you go that jump, make sure you have all your bases covered. And if, it's one of these things again, it's definitely a waiting period for sure. No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
So really the main point that you're making and that you've made and is that there's a place for China, but because we're looking at starting out at this point, it's not the place to start. And why go and invest that much time and have that much risk when it's not proven yet? And so you can use smaller quantities, which is what the whole easy way is about, to be able to prove the product first and make sure it's validated. Just recapping.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. That's good. All right, guys, your private label strategy. So these are like the three different types of business models, and there's not a right or wrong. It's just whatever works best for you. And I bet most of us that are on here have done something a little bit different. Everybody's path to private label is different. It looks different. And so we're going to go over the three different ways that people typically get started with private label. The first one is jumping in head first. The pros of this is easier to manage inventory, and that's also just basically because you're only dealing with your private label. So this is like if you maybe you're starting brand new and you jump right into private label, which you can do that. Or maybe you've done RA a long time ago and now you're jumping right back into private label, or you haven't sold anything for a while. So easier to manage inventory because you aren't dealing with hundreds of SKUs. Number two is you can scale it very quickly because all your focus is on there, and you have full control because it's your private label brand. And lastly, it's focus, which is a big deal. As you guys know, there's so many different angles. We talk about, Abe's method and Christy's method, and which way do you go, and all that kind of stuff. And don't get confused by that, guys. Pick what's best for you. Just get started. We tell folks, just jump in. Just jump in the water. Whatever you got to do, get in there. Don't overthink the product selection at all. You just got to pick something and send it in. Run the ads. Gather the data. This is the way for jumping in head first. Is a focus is a big thing, and it makes a big difference. Abe, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and for people who are new, there's really nothing wrong with just jumping into private label head first, because I'll tell you, when I was back doing RA or whatever, there's so many times I wish I could have that several $1,000 credit card purchase back, bad buys that I made. Because inventory, like the race to the bottom, or I buy an item, by the time I send it in, pack up a big shipment, it gets to Amazon, prices tank, right? Or it was just a bad decision. I jumped the gun and didn't really dig in so much, because you're in the store, you want to waste the time, you see deals and you buy things. So many times that it happened, I was just like, you know what? I think back now, if I had taken that money, invested in private label, then where would I be now? It was just, so I wish I could have all that. So if you're starting from scratch, you're in the exact right place to start. Start building that repeatable process now. Start putting those systems in place, and private label is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to add to that. This is sort of what I ended up doing. So I started off with, I basically started in Q4, and I knew my ultimate goal. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but I knew I was going to do private label. I didn't know what it meant or whatever, but I wasn't going to go flip products forever. But I also knew that I needed to know and understand a little bit about the Amazon platform, just what is the buy box, or what does rank mean, or what's a good category to sell, and just basic things about the platform. And so I told myself, okay, I'm going to ride the Q4 wave, which was wild for the first time jumping in. And then I had a very depressing January, because that's always what happens, but I wasn't aware of that. No one told me. But I knew that in January I was going to get started with private label, and I got rid of pretty much all of my products that I was doing OA and RA with, and I was able to completely focus on doing my private label products, which is why I stumbled across doing my 4 weeks and $100, because I had 4 weeks. I could dedicate all of my time to one particular product, and it was one of my first products. And so, you have focus and you have full control, and I'm not worried about buying all this other inventory to keep it up. So if you're in that place, and if that's you and you're just getting started with Amazon, you really can do this. You don't have to follow those pyramid steps anymore. So take it for someone who started off pretty much just like this. I had a little bit of experience, but it was only just to get my feet wet and understand the platform.
Absolutely. All right. The cons, though, of jumping ahead first is no other inventory to bring in income, because you're solely focused on your private label. The lack of foundational knowledge of the selling platform. Christy, that's you. You were talking about that earlier.
I mean, there's so much I didn't know. It's really kind of sad.
Oh my God.
We all start there.
I'll tell you, I could actually jump in here too, because that's something I really, decided to just learn how the Amazon system works. So especially if you're new, take the time to learn how the Amazon system work. It's a customer-driven platform, right? That's everything is based on the customer. What do the customers search for? And Amazon lines up products based on relevant to customer search. Once you kind of understand how that all works, you can unlock all kinds of doors to product leads. So and then you could see it on the back end too when you're targeting your listing. So very important to understand how Amazon works as a whole. It'll help you. It'll really help in the long run.
Absolutely will. Number 2, working your way up. I would think that this is probably what most people do, is they're doing retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, and then they slowly work their way up to private label. It's kind of the path that I did. The easier financial burden is a pro for that, because you have other products that are selling in the meantime while you're working on your private label product. You can obviously have diversified inventory, so it eases the financial burden there. The cons, it's slower private label income growth, because you're kind of a little bit more distracted and you have more things going on, distractions too. And then it's more of a hustle too with retail arbitrage. I know, like Mike said, he loves doing retail arbitrage. So,
you know what though? I actually went to Michael's today.
Did you?
yarn for a product, and I was I actually enjoyed being in Michael's today, walking around and seeing. Now looking at products, what can I private label?
Right.
Flip them. What can I
Right.
make out of these things? Now I know I know that arts and crafts niche pretty well. And of course, I'm buying yarn, and a lady walks up to me and goes, "Hey, what are you making with that yarn?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not making a project." She goes, "Yeah, you don't seem like you're a knitter at all." I'm like,
Right.
and so anyways, but walking around, that retail arbitrage does give you something. When you're walking around, you get the feel of the products. What's not in that store? And one of my products I sell is absolutely not in that store. It sells great on Amazon.
Mhm.
Things you can't get by going to the store. So you get a little bit of a little bit of good data just by walking some of these existing stores, what's there and what's not there.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'd say the hustle. There are ways to hustle without running from store to store to store.
Right.
There's other ways you can interpret hustle. I'll tell you, doing that literally drove me to private. It drove me insane first, and then it drove me to private label.
Then it drove you to private label.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, the other thing is, like my mom, she loves the hunt. She loves it, and I used to love it. But I tend to like it more when it's not necessary. When it's something that when I'm relying on that income, that hustle is like crazy stressful.
Yeah.
And so if you enjoy that, then man, keep going and doing that. But you don't have to depend on it with private label. You don't have to have the same kind of hustle.
Absolutely. Sorry guys, I'm just George Thompson's in there asking about the phone number to call in. George, I'm putting it in the chat there. All right, guys, number 3, jack of all trades. The pros, easier financial burden because, again, you got all kinds of different products already selling. And so you can, leverage all those and not have to be focused on one thing and just hoping that your private label launches quickly and brings in income. So if you have other things going on to bring you income while you're building your private label brand. But the cons obviously are slower private label income growth because you got other things going on, obviously. Distractions, again, just another one. You got too many things happening, so your private label builds a little bit slower. Then you have tons more SKUs, which I don't enjoy having tons of SKUs to deal with. So much better to have just a few. I don't have a few yet. I still got a lot more than I want. I'm trying to pare it down. What about you guys?
Yeah, that's what I had. I had thousands of SKUs doing arbitrage and even into wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was after Q4 2015, I just said, okay, enough's enough. What's working for me? Okay, bundles. So that's when it dawned on me, like, sell exclusive products.
Yeah.
I just got rid of everything. And I went down to just a low number of SKUs that are just mine that I can replenish and sell constantly. And then that's pretty much how I restructured my entire business.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I think I kind of pick niches now where I like to be, and I kind of build a niche out. So it's a little bit easier to, because I know the keywords, I know what sells, I know the competitors. To learn the market a lot easier. And when you bundle, when you do, or if you do multi-packs, you're actually getting the same amount of SKUs, but less products.
Yep.
So, so in a way, it's kind of like you're carrying, less products, but you're selling the same amount.
Right.
And higher amount. So it actually works out better that way. So like multi-packing variations, doing bundles are a great way to increase your dollar amounts as well as the products that you're carrying without having a bunch of SKUs to do it,
Yeah.
I'm with Mike. I try to, at this point, I try to pick a target area. I do a lot with pets. And I get to know, you run the numbers and you see what sells, and you can spin off those keywords and create spin-off products and bundles and multi-packs and things like that. So I do a lot of things that complement one another. So I'm the same way. I like to pick. I have few of them, but they're all kind of concentrated in one area.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a little different from Mike and Christy, where I literally just start every research with a completely blank slate. I let the data lead me to a product, a niche, whatever, and then I start to build out products from there. So I love to just go on that hunt, dive down those rabbit trails that lead me to a product idea. So I really don't care what niche I sell in, is what I'm saying. If the data says to sell, that's what I sell.
Right. So guys, which are you? Are you a jack of all trades? Are you doing all kinds of things, doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage? Maybe you have a regular job right now. Are you going to work your way in a little bit slower, test the waters, or are you going to jump right in? Either way, it doesn't matter. Whatever works best for your business is what you need to do. But the way to wrap this up, I would say, for this section is just jump in, just do it. Do not overthink it. Just pick a product, pick something. If you guys all have access to Brett Bartlett's PPI, the Proven Performance Inventory course, and in that course, in the very first video, I think maybe I don't know if it's the first or second video, but he talks about the surf wax, and he picks that because it's something he's interested in. And he had no idea if it was going to be good or not, but he just picked it because he was interested in it. He picks products based on what his wife Noelle likes and what his daughter Cambria likes. What does your family like? Just pick something, anything. Run it through the validation process and send it in, or use the product-driven method or the customer-driven method. And this is all in the lessons later. I'm kind of jumping way ahead of for the webinar series, but I know a lot of you have said in the Facebook group that you're stuck. Well, get unstuck. Basically just pick something, send it in. You're going to learn so much in the process that it'll help you. And just go through the process, gather the data, and it'll lead you down some really cool rabbit trails. So, which are you guys? And it's fine. Whichever one you are is totally fine. But decide what you're going to do and go after it. All right, your goals. This is one of my absolute favorite topics. I love talking goal setting. I love talking about dreams and visions and thinking ahead for my business and my life. And so this one is a fun section for me to talk about. If you guys remember this in the lessons, I think it's 4 or 5. I'm not sure, Jenny. I changed the lessons up and revised them. But this is the pyramid again with the different ways of sourcing inventory. And so we have this in the lessons as just a guide for you guys to look at where you're at right now. So you're on the left-hand side, your current percentage, and what your goal is. So, and guys, you may not know exactly where you want to be, but put something down. Put down a goal. A goal can always change. You can always redo it. You can always revise it based on new knowledge that you have. But pick something. Figure out where you are. Are you about 50% retail arbitrage and 50% wholesale? Well, write that in there. But then put what you want to be. Do you want to be 100% private label by a certain date? And it's always good to have a date too to shoot for. And then kind of what you have to do, the steps you have to take to get there. So I encourage you guys to download this from the lessons and fill this out. And then it'll be fun to go back and look and see where you were and just kind of look and see how far your business has come. Guys, anything on this section?
Yeah, I'd say, when I kind of was making the jump from arbitrage into private label, I knew I wanted a system that I could repeat, a system that I could improve, and a system that I could outsource. And private label fit all those molds for me. And I've been able to build a repeatable system. I've been able to refine along the way. And then the pieces that need to be outsourced got outsourced. So that was my goal starting, and I'm almost there. So it's exciting when you can start to see that, see your goals come into place when you have targets like that.
That's so true.
Well, I think for me too, like online arbitrage is a great place because it's like sourcing virtually. If you're doing online arbitrage, you're finding deals or suppliers or wholesalers that way. And I still like wholesale and exclusives because sometimes you do exclusives or wholesales, you can get deals with wholesalers that have product they want to sell on Amazon, but they can't. So you get product for free, and you work out a split, a profit. Everyone now that I'm actually working to sell his product, and I don't have to buy any, which is nice, And so there's actually a lot of opportunities like that. And especially you walk the ASD, you're going to find people that really want to sell on Amazon, but they have no idea because they started with the product, and you don't know how it's going to sell on Amazon. When you do with Abe and Chris and I do, with data, you kind of look for a product.
Yep.
In this case scenario, you already have one, so
that's so true.
You have a skill level once you learn the PPI method and all that to exploit those areas, or actually work with manufacturers and wholesalers to even have a business-to-business type service as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mike, you talking about like the vendors that have these really cool products?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I see so many people that, vendors at ASD that have these really neat products and that they're like, oh, this is our first trade show and we're struggling and we haven't sold any. And I feel so bad for those folks because they're like, they don't know to find the audience first. I mean, they're just picking a really cool product and then hoping that it sells. And oh my gosh, those are the types of folks you guys could come alongside. And with your knowledge from this course and the PPI course, you could totally help them and create a win-win where they, you become their experts on Amazon. And then just split the profit somehow. So many neat partnerships, like Mike said, business to business type partnerships that you can do. So setting goals the easy way. Why do you want to set goals? Guys, I think it's important to have a why. There's a lot of folks that I've loved reading your stories, by the way. You guys are putting in there where you came from. How you got to this course. I love reading those. And a lot of you have been putting in there your why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you selling on Amazon? Why are you doing private label? And it's so cool to read those because it's so important to have a why. Why are you doing this? Write this down. Have this thing in front of you. Have that why. It could be something like you want to retire in 5 years, or you want to, be able to pay for your grandkids' college, all of it, or you want to take that dream trip, or whatever it is. It's very individualized, and whatever it is for you, it just needs to be something that motivates you. It needs to be something that motivates you when it gets hard. When you get stuck, when you feel like that things aren't going your way in your business, you need to be able to look at that. And I really am a big believer in having pictures. I have pictures around my office and things that I look at. I have a dream board type thing on my computer. It's a virtual one, but you can have a whiteboard. You can have a cork board with pictures and things on there of dreams and goals that you have for your life. Put those on there, and when it gets hard, look at those. And guys, I promise it'll motivate you to push past it and just to keep persevering. I believe a goal set is halfway reached. Zig Ziglar said that. And totally, please write down your goals. Write down what they are. Again, they can change from month to month based on new information, based on your progress and all that kind of thing. But definitely write it down. Have things that you can look at and review it often. That is so important to review the goals that you have often, and the things that you're trying to accomplish. Guys, anything on those two things?
Excellent.
All right.
I think we're all busy answering the
No, it's totally good. I appreciate that. No. Yeah, please. I appreciate your help in the chat room. There's no way I could get to do all of it. So you guys are awesome. Here's some questions that we talk about in the lesson with goals. Please download that lesson and answer these questions. These are just a few of them that I want to cover, and it's so important in my life to as I look back and see the things that I've written down and accomplished, it's so it brings such satisfaction, and it motivates me to keep writing my goals down and believing and dreaming for bigger things in my business and in my personal life. And so one question I love is, where do you want to be at in a certain amount of period of time? Think about, where do you want to be in 4 to 6 months? That's kind of a good, it's not too long term. It's very near, actually. It's before Q4. And where do you want to be with private label within the next 4 to 6 months? How many private label products do you want to have launched and selling? And I know that a lot of you guys are just getting into this and you have no idea what to expect, how long it's going to take. That's why I say just jump in and do one, get one going. You'll learn so much through the process. You'll fine tune it as you go. And then you'll be able to better gauge how long it takes you from launch to selling. But think about, where do you want to be in 4 to 6 months with your business? Think about where you want to be in 4 to 6 months with your personal life. Any area of your life, guys, write these things down and just look at them every day. I look at my goals and dreams every single day because it really helps me to keep going, keep focused on what I'm really doing. We talked about this. How many private label products do you want before Q4? Okay, guys, I want to ask you this. I know that all of you have different ways and different, you have different personal things going on in your life. I know, Christy, you're still at a regular job that you love. And so you may not have as much time to do it as like Abe and I do, who can work full time in our business. But guys, help them think about what's a good goal for Q4, or just talk about how long does it take to launch a private label product?
Well, I guess it depends on what method you're going through. And if it's your first time, usually it's going to take a little bit longer once you get going. So your first one could take you a little bit longer, but once you've done that one, you've learned things, you know the process, it's a little bit faster. Do the second one a little bit faster, third one a little bit faster. I would say when I don't get preoccupied with other things, definitely one a month, if not 2 a month. I would say it would be aggressive for me to do 3 a month, but again, I do have a full-time job, and I'm one of the very rare people who actually really loves my job. So I'm not necessarily in a really big hurry to leave it, but that also does give me limited time to work on things. But but that would be my goal. I would say one a month.
Okay.
My goal is about right now the first quarter after the great fourth quarter, which is very nice. The first quarter, what I do is I usually spend 3 months expanding my skill levels. This is the first quarter I did Shopify, on demand, PLR, ClickFunnels. So I've done a lot of different things to build another pillar outside of Amazon. Etsy I brought on in the fourth quarter, this new sales channel. So I spent a little time differently. I spent my first quarter really trying to develop my next step, my next pillar. Then I do a lot of testing and selling of new products. And by the fourth quarter, I like to go big and know what I need to go in with as far as how deep I want to go in each of the SKUs that I feel are going to work, and have an idea of what I need to order to put in place for those fourth quarter orders. So yeah, I work myself a little bit differently than that way, but I start testing again this month. I put in 3 already. So
nice. 3
on average for me is pretty easy to do. Okay. Even that's with having another business too that's really time consuming. But awesome. By doing probably the easy way, you can send in 1 to 3 very easily, 1 a week. And the pipeline's always moving through, and with Dave and I doing some certain things together, we're constantly finding ways to really get products rolling very quickly. The next thing for me is going to be really to probably source that even testing phase out to a team, because for me, I've like control over that first test bundle to see what it is, how to handle it, and I just don't trust a lot of people with my first test bundle. That once they feel confident, I hand it off. But this year's my goal is really to probably hand that portion off to a team that I didn't trust to handle that.
Awesome, Abe. What were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, once now that I've gotten a lot better at finding products, and I can do it a lot faster. And like Mike said, we were on a call for like an hour, and we found about 4 products in 20 minutes just with some of the techniques that we know. So then quite literally I could find a product and place an order within 1 day. And then it just becomes like waiting on the supplier and getting it to Amazon. So once you get rolling and you start to learn how the system works and you're confident in your decision making, and that's really where all the delays happen, is the second guessing. And the extra research that you eventually find out that your decision was right the first time. Once you're confident, you do it over and over, you can just start launching products with confidence left and right, and it's
absolutely guys. What he said, that nailed it. There was somebody today, or maybe it was yesterday, in the Facebook group that said they're going to have their biggest obstacle is going to be themselves and having the confidence to move forward. And so I think I posted maybe just a few days ago, I was like, what's the absolute worst that could happen with a private label product? I mean, it's probably not going to kill you if you don't sell. I mean, you're just going to think about the amount of money that you're investing in this. If you have a product, let's say that you start with 5 of a product, or maybe even start with 20, whatever it is. Let's say that your product costs you $5. So 5 times 5 is $25 on the low end, whereas if you send in 20, you're at $100. So somewhere between $20 and $100 is your investment for your very first private label product. What if it absolutely completely bombs? You don't sell anything. Well, all these guys on here would tell you that is not a failure, because you're going to learn keywords. You're going to figure out some kind of rabbit trail you can go down. you definitely found out what didn't work. So you're one step closer to your actual product. But guys, just jump in. You will gain confidence. And so that's why we want to get you to the edge of just jump in and do it. And then you're going to gain that confidence and be able to launch them faster. So what do you want a typical day to be like 1 year from now? You guys can see that I enjoy these types of questions. For me, it's kind of fun to think about what do I want my typical day to be like? So if you are in a job and you're not like Christy and you're at a job that you don't enjoy, can you imagine yourself waking up without an alarm clock and being able to go to your office and work at home? Or maybe Jenny goes to coffee shops a lot. Can you imagine, going to your Starbucks every day and sitting down with a cup of coffee? Guys, write these things down and put pictures on them. Take a picture of a Starbucks and post it on your dream board. Or if you have a photo book, seriously, I'm telling you, do this because it's so powerful. It will definitely get you moving in that direction. So think about, hour by hour, what does a day look like for you a year from now? Is it, I want to wake up at, 7:30 and have a cup of coffee and hang out with my wife, or, you want to go hang out with the grandkids that day, or whatever it is. Have these goals, write them down. And guys, I'm a big believer in this because it works for me. If you look at my journal and the things I wrote down years ago, I'm living that life now. And it's not, necessarily because it's a magical thing. It's just, I'm a believer in prayer and ask the Lord for help, and He helps me. But I'm telling you, if you look at all these, there's so many different books that talks about goal setting, no matter where you come at, on the religion thing, is that write down your goals. It works. It's proven it works. And especially if you have pictures of what you want your life to be like, you will head in that direction. Any of you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, one of the things I've always wanted to do is just not be tied to one location, and I'm moving more and more to have like an email only business, so everything is just, I don't ever have to touch a product. It's just quite literally all I want to do is research and send emails. And that's what I want. And I want to, I want to be able to travel anywhere in the world, a year from now. If I'm on the beach answering emails, like that's a good place for me.
Yep, that's awesome. Put down. You'd be like Barrington sitting on the beach.
Yeah. I got a 7-year-old, so he's gonna have to come with me.
He can come with you. Absolutely.
It might have to be summer times only, but
hey, that's okay, man.
Whatever works.
That's so cool. All right. Again, I love this question. What do you want your life to be like 5 years from now? I'm not going to just harp on this any longer. You get the idea. Write it down. Have some pictures in front of you of what you want it to be like, and you will head in that direction. So I love these exercises. Think about 1 year, 5 years from now. Think about if all this is like too overwhelming to think about what you want it to be a year or even 5 years from now, just focus on the next month. Focus on, and really, guys, what's going to get you there is your next action. Your next action is what's going to get you closer to these goals. And so focus on just getting through the lessons. Have a goal. I want to get through the lessons by the end of April, for example, whatever it is for you. But just focus on those little steps, because ultimately those are the ones that are going to get you to your 1 year and your 5 year goals. Write it down. I don't know. I can't say anything else about that. Just write it down. It totally works. Whatever motivated you is what you need to focus on. Again, having a kind of a vision board or pictures around you. Having maybe your screensaver for your computer is a vision board with pictures. So for Abe, maybe it's a picture of a beach in Jamaica, for example, that really motivates him. And when he's upset because he can't find a supplier or whatever, he looks at that. Okay, I got to find it. Because I got to get there. I got to be on the beach sending my emails. And you guys remember that goals can change and be flexible. And so if you get along here and you think my goal is to launch one private label product a week, you're like, and you get closer into it and you start going through the process and you're like, that's absolutely not going to be feasible for me because I got this going on and that going on. Well, maybe it's one a month, whatever it is, guys, just move forward. And please, please, please don't compare yourself to Abe or Mike or Christy or Jenny. because they're different. Their situation is different. They have, Chrissy's working a full-time job, so she may just don't focus on what they're doing. Focus on only what you can do, and don't beat yourself up if they're doing more than you, or somebody else in the group is doing more. If people post sales figures in other groups and talk about how they did $100,000 in that last month on one private label product, and you're thinking, golly, I can't even pick one. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. No. Just do exactly what you can do. Focus on that next action, and know that you can always change your goals up as you go. But please don't compare yourself to other people. Anything else on that topic?
Well, I think also is meet other people and network. I think the reason why I kind of do some of this stuff, as far as like help out in the groups and things like that, is really to network. It's like a real business. In the offline world, you meet people, you make connections, and there's sources, things you can do for each other. They can go a lot further than you would on your own. So community is an important thing in a virtual world.
Right.
So really, it's one of these things. I mean, all of us here have something working together because we just know each other and we've developed a relationship, but we've all been better for it. So you definitely want to, find somebody you get along with well and help each other. I mean, I don't even worry about if I share listings or not, because it's this to me, it comes down to really, there's so much opportunity. And this is just the very, very beginning of the whole thing about online e-commerce. If it's Amazon or Etsy, back in the eBay again, or Shopify, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you have to be in the mindset of, being open about what you want to do and not worry about, you're not sharing listings anymore. You're not jumping around listings. So it's okay to network and learn a lot and share resources with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mike, that's a great point. And, that's one of the great things about the private label mentoring group. And I'll tell you, I struggled for like the first 8 months of my business. And the one thing that changed for me was when I went to CES in Louisville, a few years ago. And Ryan, I know you were there.
Yeah.
And what I did is that was the first time I ever kind of opened up and started networking with people and meeting people in the business. And, met people who became accountability partners of mine. And eventually I formed partnerships like with people like Christy and, Mike and I are working together on some, and Ryan and Jenny, so every time I've made a connection and built a network and expanded a network in this business, my business has exponentially grown. So if there is one thing, it is, get involved in the community, network with people, meet like-minded entrepreneurs that'll keep you accountable. And, you can grow together. I'll tell you that it's if you shut down, not talk to me, try and do it all yourself, it's going to be a much longer, slower, and kind of like depressing ride. You want someone you could share ideas with and kind of keep each other accountable, and growth happens much faster. And so many cool things come from that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely does. My business changed completely when I started networking and meeting other sellers. So. All right, number 5, your budget. This is my absolutely not favorite topic to talk about, but it's. But Jenny insisted that we talk about
brother.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
So, but the budget, determine your budget, and this is private label the cheap way. So guys, we just mentioned earlier saying that, what's the worst case that could happen as far as launching a product? You're starting slow, very low investment. If you have a $5 cost for a product and you start with 5 to test, that's $25. Or if, $20, if you have 20 of them to test, it's $100 at the most. So there really is not much, unless you're just on a really strict budget. It's a lot. It's not like you're investing thousands of dollars. And so if you were sourcing from China and you had a minimum of 1,000 units and your product was $5, you'd have a $5,000 investment. Well, you definitely have to budget for something like that, most likely. But with the easy way method and the PPI method of starting small, low investment, very low risk, we just want you to be aware of things that you need to be thinking about for private label. So instead of like figuring out you have to have a budget for your $25 investment, we're not saying that. It's just, here's some of the things that to be aware of when you're going through the private label process. That's all. Number 1 is cost of product. And that's going to be the biggest one. Unless you're doing Christie's method, my goodness, shipping's probably more than her products. Because as you guys get
sometimes is, sometimes is. It can make a huge dent in my margin just from
exactly.
That.
Well, like with Christie's, and for those of you wondering, like, what's Christie's method? I know, guys, there's a lot of you that have been in the group for a long time, because Ginny and I started this back in April of 2015. And some of you are veterans for sure, but some of you are just meeting all of us for the first time. And so Christy has a method of launching products in 4 weeks and for less than $100, and she uses promotional companies. And so a lot of times her products are less than $1 cost. Buying items for 79, 89 cents, selling them for $8 and $9. So there's really not much
more than that, but yes.
Or more than that, exactly.
Actually, no, I don't think at this point I do anything less than 10. But yes, okay. I mean, yeah, Beautiful. You're talking a couple bucks, and I keep it anywhere between, I sell $10 to $15, and it's a healthy ROI. Let's call it that.
My goodness! So if you start with 10 items to test, you're what, a $10 investment, man.
This is why you can do them. Why you can launch them over and over. Why it's not that hard to do one once a month or twice a month if you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's a source, and it's cheap to do to test.
If there's any hesitation, just watch Christie's method.
Right.
If you can't launch a private label doing her method, then we need
we need to talk.
We need to have a serious conversation.
That's not true.
Oh my gosh.
A process.
The second thing, obviously, is shipping. Like we said with Christie's stuff, her shipping might be more than her actual cost of goods. But think about shipping. If you're with me, it costs $25 to have the guy bring a pickup truck and drop product off. It's definitely probably not going to be the same for everybody. You may not live in a town that has wholesale companies. Which is fine, but it's still way cheaper than sourcing from China. But think about the shipping cost as you're starting your product. Packaging, I mean, this could be as easy as just poly bags, and in less than, maybe it's in Mike's webinar about the Amazon PPC ads, which is his webinar is part in the additional training section of the Facebook group and the file section. He talks about just starting slow, starting very cheap, and ordering, just getting poly bags and putting in a poly bag and doing a skeleton listing, because at this point you don't even know if it's going to be an awesome product. So why go to the expense of fancy packaging and fancy stickers and a beautiful designed logo when you don't know your product's going to work well? So packaging could be as cheap as just poly bags that you use for like a plush teddy bear or something like that. So, but you need to be aware of it. There is some cost. There might be some cost to the packaging. Of course, think about Amazon fees. How much are the fees going to be for selling? And then lastly, any kind of promotions, any kind of ads that you're going to run. What are those things going to be? Guys, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think the budget's the area where people won't talk about, because that's the part you don't like. You like to hear about the sales and
right.
how much money you're going to sell it for, but you need to get a handle on your cost of goods, your cost of service. I run a nice sized medical company, and I'm always looking at my cost of goods and cost of service.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Amazon business and the other sales channels. What are you spending? What are you making? I mean, you can make $1 million in sales, and you're losing $1.1 million. I mean, so you have to be careful what your expenditure is. So you want to get an idea what all these things cost. Is it worth prepping out to our company, bringing it internally? So get a handle. And listen, when you're testing products initially, you're probably going to lose money. You're probably going to break even, but you're going to save tens of thousands of dollars down the road by buying product that's not going to sell. So that you get to mark that under research and development, I guess. But as you move forward, you want to look at your costs. Don't get crazy with the custom labeling and all these different things. Try to make it look clean and neat and send it in. It looks professional, but you don't spend a fortune of money and time on it. So yeah, definitely from the very beginning, get a spreadsheet and start tracking some of these expenses, and then you'll make more money, of course, that way.
Absolutely, guys. We're almost done. We're wrapping it up here. We'll get to the questions that are still there. So, how much do you have to invest? Just be aware of that. This is going to be by far the least expensive way to private label that I've ever seen. And so it's not like you're going to have to, $1,000 or $2,000. Literally, you can do it for under $100. We just want you to be aware of different costs that you might incur. So how many units should I purchase on my first run? And we'll talk about that in the later webinars. But Brett's course, he says at least 3 to 5. Abe does a little bit more. he's doing his methods. Of course, he's validating a ton and is kind of fine-tuned his process, and so he's a little bit more confident now than he was when he started this a while back. But when you guys are first starting out, at least 3 to 5. You need at least that much to have a test. If you want to do more, that's fine. It just starts. The point is, start small, and you're not going to have to invest a whole lot at the beginning.
I like 10 to 15 for me, just because I like to play a price point. So once I know my cost per click, my competition, my search terms, I like to play the price a little bit to kind of see what I can do with the price. That tells me where my margins possibly be, where I need to source at. So I did a little bit more on my end. I mean, I've done 5 and so on. That works too. I just like to have a little bit more in there just to get an idea of price points, which are really important when you try to source what I need to buy it for.
Right.
You get that price, and then you can't really go much further.
Yep. But overall, you would just say start small, whatever small is for you.
15 small.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll usually do anywhere from, I would say 10 to 30 is probably like the range. But like I said, I'm doing a lot of validation before I even make a purchase. So I'm ready to just push these things hard usually.
Right.
And I use PPI, but it's more of like a targeting, more of a positioning in the marketplace, like how to position it to make the best sales.
All right, guys. So that's the end of why private label and how to plan for your journey. So what are we going to talk about next? Part 2 of Module 1 is what you need to know about building a brand. And this is going to be really fun. And Jenny talked about this a little bit earlier with building a brand and thinking about, at this point, you guys might not have any idea whether you want to build a brand or you want to launch product after product. And it's either way is fine. Just depends on which way you want to go in your business. But if you want to build a brand, there are some things you can do at the beginning or as you're moving forward to keep that door open for building a brand if you choose to go in that direction. So we're going to talk about that in the next webinar. We don't have a date yet, but we will get that try to get that done very soon because we have a lot more territory to cover in these webinars. So in the meantime, what can you do? You can get all your ducks in a row. You can figure out your goals, get those written down. You can think about, what budget and think about which direction you want to go with private label. Are you going to jump all in? You're going to continue to do some RA for a while. Again, whatever way you guys go is totally fine. Just if I could leave it at any point, I would just say, just jump in, just get it done, just take action, pick some goals that you can go after, get through the lessons in a certain amount of time, watch these webinars, whatever it is, just take action, guys, and you will get there. We are here to help you in the Facebook group, here to do anything that we can to help you get to the level that you want to be at. All right, guys, I know you've been awesome answering tons of questions. What questions do we have that we want to cover live?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Jenny, you want to lead this since you kind of been
I'll answer Chris's question. He just asked, I understand about building a brand, but what's the difference if you're just pushing products? And so it really is, building a brand would maybe be like, what's the brand you always use as an example, Ryan? Something like essential kitchen items.
Kitchen essentials.
Right. And so then you might have that be your brand as an umbrella for all of your products, right? But you also might just be interested in having unique listings. That's your goal because you don't want other people to be on them. So you can use the private label, the easy way to do that. And you're creating either it's bundles or I guess the difference between them is what is your motivation behind them and what's your goal at the end? Do you want to have like a store that is a complete brand and you're not so interested in Amazon? You want, to eventually go to Shopify or to go to brick and mortar stores, or are you just interested in pushing out product after product after product, which you can do rather quickly based on what keywords, what customers are looking for? You can do it both. I'm not answering the question.
So here's my experience. So
Mike's got a good answer for this.
Yeah. So for me, for brands, nobody knows Mike's, kitchen knives. Nobody cares about my kitchen knives, right? But if I start selling a lot of those kitchen knives for some reason, or wherever I'm selling, I have a product now I sold a lot of. It's been vetted on 3 sales channels and did well in each one of them. So that I'm taking that brand and I'm sticking on Shopify. So I'm not even thinking about a real brand until it vets itself, it sells, and then I know I can take it off of Amazon as well. And then with marketing, you need Facebook ads or other type of ads, Instagram and so on. It could drive some business. So if you're getting hung up having this super duper brand from day one, I think it's a mistake because you don't have any sales, you don't have any marketing budget, you have nothing behind it. So you have to really get these sales, you need cash flow to create all the things that you need to produce a traditional brand in a lot of ways. Unless you have a large investment of money where you can come in and create a brand and get a distribution channel and all these offline type scenarios, then you can go brand right away. Or you have a very niche product where it's very specific and you have a specialty type of, you have a skill set in that area. That's possible too. But in most cases on Amazon, you're looking to start an e-commerce business that has low barrier of entry, inexpensive to start, easy to get some cash flow going, and the brand's going to develop themselves. And you might even have a product now that sells well as a PL, and I probably modified it 2 or 3 times to where now it's developing into a brand. So I did it the long way and a less expensive way. I don't know it was going to sell or not, so I did it. So it depends how you want to approach a brand. So brand to me really comes down to you can develop a brand over time and make sure it's going to work, or you can just pour a bunch of money into it now and make the investment up front. Either way, you got to make it. But for me, I like to see what's going to work first. And I sell lots of brands, that aren't my brands as well through other channels. And really, right now, a lot of things are price driven unless they're very, very niche-y. So if you're real niche-y, then that brand might be good for the beginning. If it's a Me-Too product, a commodity, I'm selling something that I see 100 of them on page 1, then you're going to let that develop over time.
Right.
Right, but it comes back, I think, to what we want to talk about this early on in the training series is what are your goals and thinking long term. Are you interested in building a brand? And if so, you might set things up a little bit differently. They are not mutually exclusive necessarily. What Mike was saying, you might end up having something that develops into its own brand naturally because that's the direction that your data has gotten you, or whatever. So really looking at goals, where do you want to have a brand that you are building, or are you more interested, you don't really care? Some people really want a logo, they want a store, they want that all from the get-go and they know that, and other people don't really care, they just want to make money. And that can be done by just pushing out unique listing after unique listing.
Which that's pretty much my method. I don't, I just, sell products and don't really worry too much about the brand. I usually just make something up when it goes live.
Yep. Right. So I think it comes down to your own business strategy and your own goals and really what you want to do. And you might end up, Abe, you might even end up building a brand, not because you set out to do that, but because it makes sense because that's where the data has brought you,
absolutely. Right? No, I definitely, once you really start getting sales, then you definitely look into, putting a brand name on that and registering it with Amazon,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't do brand registry until I know it's going to, I don't spend all this time doing this until I know it sells. I mean, it's just, I don't know. We're just taking products that we're putting on there. If I invented something, I was, a mechanical engineer, I came up with something great and I invented it and I knew it was going to work. Yeah, that's different type of scenario. But really what we're teaching here is basically taking an idea or a product through data, putting it out there and see what it does. And maybe you find a niche. I think when you're branding, you want to look in a certain niche too. So if you're going to go into office supplies, for instance, maybe your branding should start developing a niche out. If you're going across the board, then branding is less important unless something really takes off and tells you, hey, this is a really good product. Let's make the investment in this and then bring it outside of Amazon and other sales channels. That's kind of what And like I said, if you're an artist and you brand yourself, that's something different. It all depends on where you're coming from as far as your background. So you have to answer that yourself. But in most cases, it's cash flow revenue. You want to make money. So the best way to make money is to get those SKUs out there, testing, make sure they're going to give you a return on investment. The ones that lose, you get rid of them. The ones that win, you move forward. The ones that really win, then you start thinking about a great name and a brand for it. And then if you have a dream of having a brand, then that's a different story. For me, it's about cash flow, revenue, return on investment. Brand comes out, great. I'll go with the brand. But I've seen many brands be replaced very quickly.
Yeah, I look at each product like its own income stream.
Right.
It's a repeatable, reorder. You can reorder, and it earns you a margin, and it just earns you money. It's kind of how I look at each product.
Yep.
So, I mean, but when you have one take off, yeah, it makes sense to build a brand and then just keep that going and expand on that brand.
So we'll talk about that more in the next webinar. We're going to bring Jason Miles in, and that'll be a real fun one, but we'll dig in deep with him. I wanted to really quick just let you guys know, early on, we didn't bring the slide up at the end, but early on, Ryan went through the 6 modules. So this first module is the why of a private label and how to plan your private label journey. And then we'll have this next webinar that kind of falls underneath that, where we're going to dig into brands. But the next module, a lot of people are asking, is how do you choose your product? That is one of the biggest questions, right? Yeah. So we're going to spend a lot of time on that, and we're not too far out from that. But if you can wait for that webinar to come. But again, all the information is also in the lessons. So feel free to go through the lessons at your own pace and ask any questions that you have in the Facebook group. If we're not going fast enough for you with the webinar training, or we're not addressing, you have some other question that you think of, at midnight tonight and it's burning, just, post it in the Facebook group. And we're happy to answer that. Anyway, so these training webinars are really just to go through the lessons live, so we can help you guys move through and answer questions live and dig in a little deeper.
Absolutely. Got one more question in there, Christy and Mike and Abe, and you guys have been awesome answering questions in the Q&A box. Jimmy wants to know, what's the average profit margin you guys are normally seeing when you're buying from wholesale suppliers?
For me, I mean, I look at a net profit margin. I don't do the ROI. I do what do I get in the end after my fees and my expenses and all that. I kind of equate to a real business, and usually you want to have your cost of goods about 35% of your revenue, and basically your profit will be after expense, cost of service. So you're looking at, I think, normal profit margins across the board about 30%. Okay. All the products together, I think they're less if you don't bundle.
Yeah, if you do bundle, you can get more than that.
Yeah, 30% is average. That's just like the winners, the losers.
Yeah.
But if you bundle and get a good product, you're gonna make much more than that on your return and your net profits. But a single product, tough. Unless you're going to find something very unusual, but bundling or multi-pack, that's why those are good, because you increase your perceived value.
Yeah.
Your cart pricing, your cart value goes up. You got to sell just more stuff.
Yeah, I usually have a guideline too, is if I'm always looking for a price point, I usually look between like $20 and $60, but let's say on the lower end and I'm around $20, like that's going to be my final sale price. I want to be able to get that item for like $5. The cost of the item is $5. So that's usually like once it comes onto Amazon, I can usually after fees and everything might be looking at 50-60% margin there.
Yeah, that's good. I think that second product you get, you may spend more for the first main product, and your second one you want to pay a lot less.
Yeah.
Dollar cost average it down, so you're bringing that cost of good down, and once it starts selling, your bestseller rank gets better. You increase the price.
It's good to have a plan too. Like maybe you'll find a source in the U.S. that you can get it. It might cost a little bit more, and you can get the thing in China for much cheaper. Well, launch the one from the U.S., test it out, prove it, and justify the extra costs of going to China. So kind of plan out your path.
That's my exact step, pretty much. You can get things on AliExpress too that you can kind of try out as well. And there's, I see basically AliExpress as an extension of like an online arbitrage type scenario. So either way you want to do it, you want to use AliExpress, you want to use wholesalers and so on, and get that. But I think what's good about wholesalers, if you can get a good line, it's a relationship that you're producing. Eventually you get terms. I have businesses where I get terms up to 120 days, which that's a long-term relationship of buying product, paying on time. Right now it's just, this business always cracks me up because everything's like COD, buy now, whatever it is, and credit cards, and that's what makes that's probably the most challenging part, is probably the cash flow aspect initially, because you're buying things up front, but as you develop your business and get bigger, you're gonna have your cost of goods and your net terms you're paying further down the road out, net 30, net 60. That really helps your cash flow, and you really can balance the budget. But really, if you're going to do e-commerce, there's no easier platform and jump on that has tons of traffic. So what we're trying to say here is learn how to get in front of that traffic and find the products they want, and then source products that have net profit for you to make some money on it and doing it. And I don't put a lot of investment into custom labeling and all these different things until I know the product's going to be worthy of it. But I do send my products in to make my test funnels internally still, very clean, packed well, professionally packed, looks good. Go in there, tape missing, and things popping through the holes, and a complete mess. Because you got to attach your seller feedback to it. You got product reviews, the things you have to do that has to make your business look professional, and in the end does better for your product as well.
Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the Q&A.
Knocked them out.
Cool.
Yeah. I was trying to answer questions, and then they were just answered, so I couldn't even keep up.
You type like that.
Yeah, my index finger typing didn't keep up with pros over there.
Awesome.
So hopefully we got to everybody's questions, but
if you guys have other questions, post in the Facebook group. That's probably the easiest way. Marcia, Abe's actually, we're getting ready to partner up with Jim Cockrum's coaching for one-on-one coaching, as Abe is one of their star coaches. So we do offer
highly sought after coaches. Actually, they want to clone him.
Yes, they already cloned Abe. This is actually his clone right here. I saw Abe on Facebook.
Yeah. The real Abe's taking a nap.
Oh my gosh!
If they clone him, they pay him less, and that's exactly how you make money.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, last question. Awesome. Mark wants to know how many units sold a day would be a good start. I would say if you sell any, just get
that's a great start. It's funny because it's funny. When I first saw the Amazon seller thing, the whole thing they had online, they that's why I got attracted to Amazon. 102 units per day. Really, the reality is, once your product is developed and your bestseller rank is good, you're gonna get a few, the 10 to 15 products a day. Then the fourth quarter comes, it gets much bigger. But a lot of it is just base hits, bunt, base hits, a double occasionally. It's like baseball, a little small ball, and then it starts to work. And then if you're making $10 times 6, that's $60 a day. You get a few of those going. That's $300 a day. You kind of have to do the math that way.
Right.
Set the products up like their own little income stream. If you have a product selling one every other day, but the margins are really great, that's wonderful, because it could sell, 2 a day with lower margins, and you may end up making the same amount of money, even though you're getting more sales on one product. So, just set it up, continuously set up a system where you can constantly launch products. And, you'll start to see, as you start to build out multiple products, you'll start to see, all of these products generating their own sources of income.
Yeah, they're little businesses themselves. They're little islands. Every little listing is a little different incorporation or a sub-corporation. And I think people, I see OA in here a lot and RA. I think you have some data. Maybe you look back in your reports what's sold in the past, and look at items that may have sold, and you're scared to go into you have to kind of start thinking keywords. That's the bottom line. Right. But you got some data there you can look at and get a little idea of. When you start pulling business reports, you go, wow, I got 300 impressions and a 0.1% sale rating. You go to your private label and your conversions are 25%. When you start looking at these business reports to your old RA and OA and checking your PLs, it's so clear. I mean, it's just the answer is right there. You're converting with traffic. That's the whole thing behind this. So I think PL for me is really the only place I would want to be. I think RA and OA are a great way to get it going, and people do really well with both. And I think it's just a natural progression, or even just add on to your repertoire for sure.
Yep.
The only place I want to be.
That's right. Awesome. Let's end it right there, guys. If you got any other questions, please post them in the Facebook group, and we will get to them. We need to jump off somewhere. So, Christy, Mike, Abe, Jenny, thank you so much for helping us out, being on here tonight and answering questions, making it so much better than it would be if it was just me. So.
Always happy to do it. I need to get a hand massage at this point.
Do you?
But I'm always happy to do it.
Abe's clone does hand massages, don't worry.
All right, we'll see you in the group, guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.